There is a quiet brightness beyond the familiar stars of our sky, a soft and steady presence that has watched over the world long before the first maps were ever drawn. It is a light that does not demand your attention, yet it holds within it a scale that challenges everything we think we know about the distance and the dark. Tonight, we are going to wander into that light, tracing the edges of the great spiral we call Andromeda, and seeing how a small, misty smudge in the night sky transformed into one of the most expansive structures in our local universe. Welcome to the Whispering Scientist. If you enjoy drifting through questions like this, you're very welcome to join these quiet explorations. It is a joy to have you here. Before we begin, I would love to know where in the world you're watching from tonight. Maybe you're lying in a quiet bedroom, the lights low and the blankets pulled up. Maybe you're on a drowsy train ride watching stations drift past in the dark like slow-moving embers. Or perhaps you are curled up on a cozy sofa with a warm drink in your hands, feeling the steam rise against your face. Wherever you are, I hope you feel calm, unhurried, and ready to wander gently into thought. That subtle glow visible on a clear night has been known for as long as humans have looked carefully at the sky. For most of history, it was thought to be a cloud or a distant smudge of unresolved light, quietly fixed in place among the stars. Its apparent size seemed modest, its boundaries appeared gentle and contained. Nothing about it suggested enormity. Modern astronomy has learned to be wary of appearances. As telescopes became more sensitive and observations more patient, Andromeda began to reveal layers that had never been seen before. Long exposures uncovered stars far beyond its bright spiral arms. Wide field surveys traced faint stellar streams stretching outward like echoes of ancient motion. Measurements of how stars and smaller galaxies move around it hinted at mass extending far past anything that shines. With each improvement in observation, Andromeda seemed to grow, not suddenly and not dramatically, but quietly. Its edges softened, its outline blurred. What once looked like a neatly bounded island of stars became something far more diffuse, more expansive and harder to define. At the beginning of the 20th century, Andromeda did not yet feel enormous. It did not even feel like a galaxy. Through the telescopes of the time, it appeared as a soft, elongated glow, a misty patch of light stretched gently across the sky, brighter in the center and fading outward into darkness. Astronomers referred to it as the Andromeda Nebula, grouping it with other cloudy objects whose true nature was still unclear. Some thought these nebulae were nearby collections of gas and dust forming stars within the Milky Way itself. Others suspected they might be something far larger, but there was no way to be sure. The problem was not imagination, it was a measurement. Early telescopes were limited by glass quality, atmospheric distortion, and the sensitivity of the human eye. Even when photography began to assist astronomy, the earliest photographic plates could capture only the brightest regions of an object. Anything faint, diffuse, or spread thin across the sky simply failed to register. Darkness swallowed it whole, so when astronomers pointed their instruments toward Andromeda, what they recorded was only its most obvious feature: a bright central region, a smooth glowing core, a disk that seemed well-defined and comfortably contained. The outer reaches, where light thins and stars grow sparse, remain invisible. To early observers, Andromeda looked modest, larger than most. Nebulae, perhaps, but still something that could plausibly fit inside the Milky Way. Its apparent size on the sky was measured in angular terms, how wide it appeared compared to familiar landmarks. By those measures it seemed manageable, finite, knowable. That impression shaped early estimates. Photographic plates taken in the late 19th and early 20th centuries captured Andromeda as a flattened oval of light. Astronomers traced its visible outline and assumed that what they could see represented most of what existed. This was a reasonable assumption then. After all, if something emitted light and that light did not appear on the plate, how could it be there? The answer was patience. Photographic plates required long exposures. Early ones could take hours, sometimes nights, to collect enough light to form a clear image. Even then, they struggled with faint stars and low surface brightness regions. The human eye, peering through an eyepiece, fared no better. Vision adapts poorly to subtle gradients. Where light fades gradually, the brain often decides that nothing is there at all. As a result, Andromeda's bright core dominated attention. The outer regions were assumed to taper off quickly. Its size was underestimated not because astronomers were careless, but because the universe was quieter than their instruments could hear. The question of what Andromeda truly was came to a turning point in the early 1920s. Careful observations of individual stars within the glowing patch revealed something extraordinary. Some of those stars change brightness in a predictable way, allowing their intrinsic luminosity to be estimated. Comparing that intrinsic brightness to how faint they appeared revealed their distance. The numbers were unsettling. Those stars were far too distant to belong to the Milky Way. They lay well beyond its boundaries, separated by distances that forced a dramat. I see rethinking. Andromeda was not a nearby cloud. It was an entire galaxy comparable in scale to the Milky Way itself, containing countless stars of its own. With that realization, Andromeda suddenly grew, not physically, of course, but conceptually. It was no longer a small structure tucked inside our home galaxy. It was a separate island of stars, adrift in the vastness between galaxies. Even so, its size was still underestimated. Knowing that Andromeda was a galaxy did not immediately reveal how large that galaxy truly was. The same observational limitations remained. Telescopes still captured mostly the bright inner disk. Photographic plates still missed faint outskirts. Astronomers now understood that Andromeda was vast, but they still did not know just how far it extended. Early size estimates focused on the luminous region, the spiral structure, where stars were densely packed and easily visible. This region appeared well defined with graceful arms curving outward from the center. Beyond those arms, the light seemed to drop away. It was natural to assume that the galaxy ended not far beyond that point. This assumption shaped diagrams, textbooks, and mental images for decades. In reality, those early measurements were like judging a city by its downtown alone. Bright, crowded, and easy to see, but hardly representative of everything that lies beyond. The suburbs, the outskirts, the quiet regions where lights are sparse and distances stretch out were missing entirely from the picture. The limitations of early instruments meant that Andromeda's faint stars blended into the background glow of the sky. The universe itself is not truly dark. Air glow, scattered light, and the combined shimmer of countless distant stars create a soft background that hides delicate structures. Against that glow, Andromeda's outer regions simply vanished. There was also a psychological element at work. Human perception prefers edges. It seeks boundaries and clean shapes. When a glow fades gradually rather than stopping abruptly, the mind often interprets the fading as an ending. Early astronomers, like all observers, were influenced by this tendency. Where the image became indistinct, they assumed the object had finished. So, Andromeda was drawn smaller than it truly was. This underestimation persisted well into the middle of the 20th century. Even as telescopes improved, the focus often remained on the brightest, most photogenic parts of the galaxy. Spiral arms, star-forming regions, and the luminous core drew attention, while the faint outskirts continued to escape notice. Yet the seeds of revision had been planted. Astronomers now knew appearances could deceive. They knew that galaxies were not neat, compact objects, but sprawling systems shaped by gravity over immense spans of time. The realization that Andromeda was a galaxy opened the door to a deeper question, one that would take decades to unfold. If the bright disk was not the whole story, how much lay beyond it? The early measurements of Andromeda, limited though they were, provided a necessary starting point. They gave astronomers something to build upon, something to improve, and perhaps most importantly, they taught a quiet lesson that would echo through future discoveries. What you see is not always what is there. As instruments became more sensitive and observations more patient, Andromeda would begin to reveal just how incomplete those early views had been. The galaxy that once seemed modest and contained would gradually stretch outward, dissolving the idea of a clear edge and replacing it with something far more expansive. But at the beginning, it all started with a glow, a soft, misty shape, and a universe that was already far larger than it appeared. To truly understand the journey Andromeda's expansion in our minds, we must settle into the era when it was still known as a nebula, a word that translates from the Latin as mist or cloud. In the early 1900s, the sky was different. The universe, to the observers of that time, was a single vast island of stars, known as the Milky Way. Beyond the edges of our own galaxy, there was believed to be only a lonely infinite void. Andromeda was seen as a small swirling pocket of gas within our own borders, a humble neighbour caught in the act of forming its own solar systems. This was the illusion of the island universe. It was a comforting, small-scale view of existence that placed us in a position of central importance. But the mystery of that glowing smudge of light would not stay quiet. It sat in the constellation of Andromeda like a silent question, waiting for the tools of humanity to grow sharp enough to penetrate its misty veil. As you lie there, drifting toward a deeper state of relaxation, imagine the frustration and the wonder of those early astronomers, peering through cold glass lenses on freezing nights, trying to make sense of a light that had traveled for millions of years just to touch their eyes. The problem with seeing Andromeda clearly in those early days was not just the quality of the telescopes, but the very nature of human perception. When we look at a distant object, our brains seek out the brightest parts to define its shape. In Andromeda, that meant focusing on the brilliant, dense core. Because the light thins out so gradually as you move away from the center, the human eye reaches a limit, where it simply decides that the object has ended. This created a false boundary, a psychological edge that made the galaxy look compact and manageable. Early maps of the sky drew Andromeda as a tidy oval, a small splash of milk in the dark. It was the perfect visual illusion. Scientists measured its width across the sky and, assuming it was close to us, calculated that it was only a few thousand light-years across. It was an island, yes, but a very small one, tucked safely inside our own cosmic territory. The idea that there could be other island universes as large as our own was considered by many to be a radical, almost impossible fantasy. This began to change as photography took its place in the observatory. Unlike the human eye, which resets its view every fraction of a second, a photographic plate can sit and stare. It can drink in the light of a single object for hours at a time, slowly building up a layer of information that the eye can never see. When astronomers began to take long-exposure photographs of the Andromeda Nebula, they noticed that the mist was much wider than they had thought. Faint, ghostly spiral arms began to emerge from the darkness. These arms were not made of gas, but of something much more substantial. However, the true scale still remained a secret because the distance was unknown. Without knowing how far away a light is, it is impossible to know how large it is. A candle held close can look as big as a distant bonfire. For a long time, Andromeda was the candle, flickering in the drafty hallways of our own galaxy. It took the work of patient observers, looking at the rhythmic flickering of specific stars called Cepheid variables, to finally realize that Andromeda was not a candle at all. It was a bonfire burning across an unimaginable gulf of space. In 1923, Edwin Hubble used the massive telescope at Mount Wilson to resolve individual stars within the Andromeda Nebula. He found one particular star that pulsed with a steady, predictable rhythm. By measuring the timing of those pulses, he could calculate how much light the star was actually producing, and by comparing that to how faint it looked through the telescope, he could finally measure the distance. The result was a shock that rippled through the scientific world. Andromeda was not just outside the Milky Way, it was nearly 1 million light-years away. In an instant, the small, misty cloud became a giant island of stars, equal to or even larger than our own. The universe had suddenly grown millions of times larger, and we were no longer the only island in the sea. This was the moment the nebula became a galaxy. Conceptually, Andromeda had expanded from a localized cloud into a sovereign nation of stars, yet even with this new status, we still saw only the brightest fraction of its true self. We had discovered the island, but we had not yet seen the vast submerged reefs that stretched out into the deep. The illusion of the island universe teaches us a quiet lesson about the nature of observation. We often mistake the limits of our vision for the limits of the world. Because the early plates could only capture the bright center, we assumed the center was the whole. We saw a spiral and thought we saw a boundary. But as the decades passed and our technology became more sensitive, we began to realize that the spiral arms were just the most active, crowded part of a much larger structure. Beyond the arms, there were ancient, dim stars that had lived through the birth of the galaxy itself. These stars were spread so thin that they left no mark on the early photographs. They were the suburbs of Andromeda, stretching out into the dark, silent reaches of space. To find them, astronomers had to stop looking for a glow and start looking for individual points of light, a task that required a level of patience and precision that would take another half-century to achieve. As you settle further into your pillows, imagine the vastness of that distance Hubble measured, 1,000,000 light-years, and we now know it is even more, over 2.5 million. The light you see when you look at Andromeda tonight left its stars when our own ancestors were only just beginning to walk the Earth. It has traveled through the cold, empty silence of the void for eons, carrying the story of a galaxy that refuses to be contained by our simple definitions. The illusion of the island universe was a necessary step in our understanding, a small map that allowed us to eventually draw a much larger one. It reminds us that every ending we see in the sky is usually just a new beginning, a threshold into a deeper layer of reality. The galaxy is not a neat, tidy object. It is a sprawling living system that fades into the darkness so gradually that it is impossible to say where it truly ends. Tonight's journey is about letting go of those neat boundaries. As the day's worries fade, let your mind expand like the history of our understanding of Andromeda. We are moving away from the small and the certain, and drifting toward the vast and the subtle. The island is much larger than we thought, and the sea between us is filled with overlapping ripples of gravity and light. The quiet brightness of Andromeda is a reminder that there is always more to the story than what we see at first glance. The mist is clearing, the stars are sharpening, and the scale of the universe is opening up before us, wide and peaceful and infinite. Feel the weight of the night as a gentle, protective space, a place where you are free to wander among the stars without ever leaving the comfort of your room. The illusion has faded, the truth is expanding, and the galaxy is waiting for us to see just how far its influence truly reaches. To understand the true size of the galaxy we call Andromeda, we must first appreciate the heavy, restless curtain through which we have been forced to look for almost the entirety of human history. For thousands of years, Eve, astronomer, every poet, and every curious soul who looked up at the sky was peering through the atmospheric veil of Earth. Our atmosphere is a beautiful thing. It gives us the air we breathe and the blue of our daytime sky, but for a scientist trying to measure the deep reaches of space, it is a source of constant, shimmering noise. The air is never truly still. It is a turbulent ocean of gases, shifting with heat and cold, moisture and wind. This movement causes the light of distant stars to twinkle and the edges of vast galaxies to blur. When we looked at Andromeda from the ground, even with the most powerful telescopes, we were like people trying to see the details of a pebble at the bottom of a rushing stream. The water distorts the shape, softens the lines, and hides the true extent of what lies beneath the surface. This atmospheric veil was the primary reason Andromeda remained small in our understanding for so long. It wasn't that the galaxy was hiding, it was that our own world was getting in the way. As you settle into the stillness of your room, imagine the challenge of looking through miles of shifting air. Even on the clearest, coldest night, the atmosphere acts as a filter, scattering the faintest light before it can reach the mirror of a telescope. Because the outer edges of Andromeda are so incredibly dim, their light is the first to be lost. The atmosphere has its own faint glow, a subtle luminescence caused by the sun's energy and the chemistry of the air itself. This background glow acts like a veil of fog, and any light that is softer than that fog simply vanishes. For decades, ground-based astronomers were frustrated by this limit. They could see the brilliant core of Andromeda quite clearly, and they could trace the sweeping spiral arms where the stars are most densely packed, but beyond that, everything dissolved into a grey, featureless haze. They suspected there was more, but they could not prove it. They were reaching the edge of what was possible from the surface of a living planet. To see the true scale of the neighbor next door, we had to leave the world behind. We had to climb above the air, above the clouds, and above the restless motion of the wind. The transition from ground-based astronomy to space-based observation was like a long overdue exhale for the scientific community. When telescopes finally left the surface of Earth and settled into the silent, airless vacuum of orbit, Andromeda changed again. Without the atmosphere to scatter its light, the galaxy began to sharpen. The mist that had surrounded its edges for centuries began to resolve into individual points of light. It was as if a dusty window had been wiped clean, revealing a garden that stretched much further than the viewer had ever realized. In the vacuum of space, light travels in perfectly straight lines. It does not shimmer, it does not bend, and it does not fade into the glow of the air. This allowed telescopes like the Hubble Space Telescope to stare into the darkness for hours, or even days on end. These long looks, untroubled by the rising of the sun or the shifting of the weather, began to uncover the faint, ancient stars that live in the outermost reaches of the galaxy. We call this region the stellar halo, a vast and ghostly envelope that surrounds the bright spiral disk. From the ground, this halo was entirely invisible, masked by the atmospheric veil. From space, it became the most important piece of evidence in the story of Andromeda's size. The stellar halo is not like the crowded spiral arms. It is a quiet, sparse place where stars are separated by tens of thousands of light years. If you were standing on a planet in the halo, the sky would look very different. The galaxy would not be a swirling overhead canopy, a distant, glowing island far off in the distance. Because these stars are so spread out, their combined light is extremely thin. Finding them is less like looking at a photograph and more like counting individual grains of salt scattered across a dark floor. Space-based telescopes allowed us to perform this count with exquisite precision. As astronomers mapped these distant stars, they discovered that Andromeda's territory was expanding with every new observation. The galaxy was not a tidy island with a sharp shore. It was a sprawling empire of light that thinned out so gradually that the edge became a matter of definition, rather than a physical line. We began to realize that the atmosphere had been hiding more than half of the galaxy's true extent. The veil had made Andromeda look like a compact, well-defined object, but the reality was something far more expansive and far more mysterious. As you drift closer to sleep, think about how often the things closest to us can obscure our view of the infinite. The air that sustains our lives is the very thing that blinded us to the scale of our nearest neighbor. It is a gentle irony of the universe. By stepping away from the familiar, by rising above the veil of our own world, we were finally able to see Andromeda for what it truly is, a structure of such immense scale that it defies our everyday language. The size of the galaxy is not just a number on a page, it is a measure of how much space it has influenced over billions of years. Without the atmospheric veil, we can see the tidal streams, the ancient clusters, and the lone wanderers that all answer to the gravitational pull of the Andromeda core. The galaxy is no longer a smudge, it is a complex, layered history written in starlight across a canvas that stretches for hundreds of thousands of light years in every direction. The vacuum of space provided the clarity, but it was our own persistence that allowed us to finally look through the curtain and see the truth. Let your thoughts become as clear and steady as a telescope in orbit. There is no wind here to disturb you, no clouds to block your view, and no restlessness to pull you away from the peace of the night. You are rising above the veil of the day's activities, moving into a space where the light of the universe can reach you without distortion. The galaxy you are imagining is not the small, blurry version from the history books, but the vast, sharp reality of modern science. It is a place of deep silence and infinite room. Feel the spaciousness of this view. There is no rush to find the end, because the end is just a gentle fading into the wider cosmos. The atmospheric veil has been lifted, and what remains is a vista of such profound beauty and scale that the only natural response is to let go and drift along with it. The air is still, the light is true, and the galaxy is stretching out before you, wider and more welcoming than you ever imagined. Sleep now in the clarity of the void, where the only thing that matters is the quiet, steady pulse of the stars, shining through the dark without a single shimmer of doubt. To understand the true enormity of Andromeda, we must appreciate the virtue of patience, for the universe does not reveal its greatest secrets to those in a hurry. When the Hubble Space Telescope was launched into the silent vacuum above our world, it brought with it a capability that changed our relationship with the deep sky forever, the ability to stare. Unlike the human eye, which flits from place to place, or ground-based cameras that must contend with the rising sun and the rotating Earth, Hubble could remain fixed on a single tiny patch of the darkness for days at a time. This patient gaze allowed it to collect light that had been traveling for eons. Photons so rare and so weary that they arrived only one by one, clicking softly against the telescope's digital detectors. When Hubble turned its eye toward the outskirts of Andromeda, it wasn't looking for the grand, sweeping spirals we see on postcards. It was looking for the whispers. It was searching for the individual stars that live in the lonely, cold territories far beyond the galaxy's glowing heart. Through this process of long, concentrated exposure, the map of Andromeda began to rewrite itself, stretching further and further into the void until the very definition of a galaxy's edge began to dissolve into the starlight. As you settle into the profound quiet of this moment, imagine the telescope floating in the absolute stillness of space, its silver body reflecting the light of distant suns. There is no sound, no wind, and no passage of time as we know it. There is only the steady, unblinking focus on a patch of blackness that most would assume is empty. Hubble's gaze is a form of deep listening. By staring at a single point for 100 hours, it can reveal stars that are 1 billion times fainter than what the naked eye can perceive. When astronomers directed this gaze at the regions surrounding Andromeda, they discovered that the empty space was actually a crowded graveyard of ancient stars. They found that the visible disk of the galaxy, the part that looks so solid and bright in amateur photographs, is actually just a small island in the middle of a much larger, ghostly sea. This sea, which we call the stellar halo, is a sprawling spherical cloud of stars that extends hundreds of thousands of light years in every direction. It was Hubble's patience that allowed us to finally see the sheer scale of this halo, proving that Andromeda is not just a neighbour, but a titan that dominates its corner of the universe. The magic of Hubble's gaze lies in its ability to resolve individual stars at distances that were previously unimaginable. Instead of seeing a smooth, milky haze of light, astronomers could suddenly count the stars one by one. They could see their colours, temperatures, and ages. By mapping these individual points of light, they realized that Andromeda's stars don't stop where the spiral arms end. They continue outward, thinning out so slowly that the transition from galaxy to intergalactic space is almost impossible to find. Imagine a city at night seen from high above. The city center is a blaze of neon and headlights, but as you move toward the edges, the lights become more sparse. You find lone houses on long roads, a single porch light in a forest, and eventually, just the dark. But even in the dark, the city's influence remains. This is what Hubble saw in Andromeda. The suburbs of the galaxy stretch out so far that they actually begin to touch the outskirts of our own Milky Way. We are not two separate islands in a void. We are two great forests whose outermost branches are already beginning to intertwine in the night. This patient observation also revealed the ghosts of Andromeda's past. Within the vast halo, Hubble captured faint stellar streams, long, graceful arcs of stars that look like cosmic ribbons. These are the remnants of smaller galaxies that Andromeda has consumed over billions of years. When a smaller galaxy wanders too close to a giant like Andromeda, the giant's gravity pulls it apart, stretching its stars into long, thin threads that wrap around the larger galaxy. By staring at these faint ribbons, Hubble allowed us to reconstruct the history of Andromeda's growth. We realized that the galaxy is as large as it is because it is a collector. It has spent eons gathering matter and stars from its surroundings, expanding its territory with every meal. The size of Andromeda is theref. Or, not just a physical measurement, it is a record of time and gravity. It is the sum total of all the smaller worlds it has invited into its embrace. Hubble showed us that the galaxy is a living, growing entity, a tapestry woven from the light of 1,000 different sources. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, think about the quiet power of simply paying attention. Hubble didn't find the outer reaches of Andromeda by moving faster or looking at more objects. It found them by looking at one thing for a very long time. This is a comforting thought for the weary mind. You don't need to rush through the mysteries of your own life to find the truth. Sometimes, the most profound revelations come when we are still, when we allow ourselves to stare into the quiet places and wait for the light to arrive. The stars of Andromeda's halo are patient, and the telescope that found them was patient too. There is a deep, restorative rhythm in this kind of observation. It reminds us that the universe is vast enough to hold all our questions, and that if we look long enough, the darkness will eventually reveal its hidden treasures. The scale of the galaxy is an invitation to let go of our small daily concerns and sink into a perspective that is measured in light years and eons. The light that Hubble captured is now part of our collective knowledge, a gift from the deep past that has finally reached the present. When you close your eyes, you can almost feel the spaciousness of that view. You are no longer confined by the walls of your room or the boundaries of your own thoughts. You are part of the expansive, shimmering reality of a galaxy that knows no limits. The patient gaze of the telescope has become your own, allowing you to see the world as a place of infinite depth and subtle beauty. The mist has been replaced by 1,000,000 distinct suns, each one a silent witness to the majesty of the cosmos. Feel the calm of this enormity. There is no pressure to understand it all at once. You only need to drift through it, like a single photon traveling through the airless dark. The galaxy is wide, the night is long, and the stars are waiting for you to find your place among them. Rest now in the knowledge that the universe is far larger and more welcoming than it appears. The patient gaze of the stars is fixed upon you, and there is no rush to wake from this beautiful dream. The veil of the day has been lifted, and the true scale of your existence is beginning to shine through. You are a part of the starlight, a part of the halo, and a part of the great silent history of the sky. Let your breath become as slow and steady as the rotation of a distant galaxy. With every inhale, you are drinking in the light. With every exhale, you are surrendering to the dark. The journey through the outskirts of Andromeda is not over, but for now, it is time to rest. The telescope has finished its long exposure, the data has been gathered, and the mystery remains a soft and steady comfort in the heart of the night. Sleep now in the peace of the patient gaze, where the only thing that remains is the gentle golden glow of the infinite. To truly understand the immense size of Andromeda, we must acknowledge a curious limitation in how we see the universe, even with our most powerful instruments. Imagine for a moment that you are standing outside a grand historic mansion in the middle of a dark, moonless night. You cannot see the house itself, only the black silhouette of the trees against the sky. However, you are holding a small silver keyhole in your hand, and through it you can see a tiny, brilliant fraction of a chandelier hanging in the foyer. Because the keyhole is so small, you can see the individual crystals of the glass and the warm glow of a single bulb, but you have no way of knowing how large the room is, how many floors the mansion has, or how far the gardens stretch into the night. This is the keyhole problem in astronomy. When we use a telescope like Hubble to look at Andromeda, we are seeing the galaxy with incredible clarity, but we are seeing only a tiny microscopic patch of it at any one time. The very power that allows us to see individual stars also limits our field of view. We are peering through a keyhole at a titan, and it takes an immense amount of work to piece those tiny glimpses together into a single cohesive map of the whole. As you lie in the quiet of your room, let your mind drift into this perspective of focused observation. The day is often spent looking at the big picture, the broad strokes of our lives and the large-scale worries that fill our thoughts. But studying Andromeda requires a shift toward the minute. To measure the true extent of our neighbour, astronomers have to take thousands of these keyhole images, each one covering a patch of sky no larger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. They must point the telescope, wait for the light to arrive, record the stars, and then move a tiny fraction of a degree to start the process all over again. This is a monumental task of patience and reconstruction. It is like trying to understand the beauty of a vast tapestry by looking at it through a magnifying glass, one thread at a time. It reminds us that sometimes, to see the truly enormous, we must be willing to focus on the incredibly small. The enormity of Andromeda is not revealed in a single glance. It is built bit by bit, from 1,000 quiet observations. The keyhole problem also highlights the deceptive nature of the empty space between stars. When we look through the keyhole at the outer reaches of Andromeda, we often see a lot of blackness. At first glance it might seem that we have reached the end of the galaxy, but then a single star appears in the corner of the frame, and then another a few thousand light-years away. These lone stars are outposts of the Empire. They are the far-flung citizens of Andromeda, held in its gravitational embrace even though they are separated from the bright city center by a vast dark wilderness. By counting these isolated stars through the keyhole, astronomers began to realize that the galaxy doesn't just stop. It thins out into a ghostly, invisible structure. The keyhole revealed that the suburbs of Andromeda are not empty voids, but populated territories that extend far beyond what our intuition expects. We were missing these stars for centuries because we weren't looking closely enough, and once we started looking, we realized the mansion was much, much larger than the foyer. This meticulous way of looking also changed how we understand the depth of the galaxy. When we peer through the keyhole, we aren't just looking at a flat image, we are looking through a column of space that is millions of light-years deep. Behind the stars of Andromeda, the keyhole reveals even more distant galaxies, millions of light-years further away, peering back at us like tiny, glowing jewels. This creates a sense of profound layering. We are looking through our own galaxy, past the stars of Andromeda's halo, and out into the infinite depths of the cosmic sea. The keyhole doesn't just show us width, it shows us the sheer volume of the universe. It reminds us that size is not just about how far something stretches across the sky, but how much space it occupies in 3 dimensions. Andromeda is not a flat disk, it is a sprawling, multi-layered sphere of influence, and every time we move the keyhole, we find a new layer of its history and its reach. As you drift closer to sleep, consider the comfort of this vacuous way of seeing. You don't need to hold the entire universe in your mind all at once. You only need to look at the small patch of peace that is right in front of you. Your breathing, the weight of your blankets, the silence of the night, these are your keyholes into a state of deep rest. Just as the astronomers pieced together the map of the galaxy from tiny glimpses, you can piece together a sense of calm from these small, simple sensations. The enormity of the world can be overwhelming, but the keyhole makes it manageable. It allows us to appreciate the individual crystals of light without being blinded by the whole chandelier. The galaxy is vast, but it is made of single stars, and your life is vast, but it is made of single moments. Let the big picture fade into the background for a while and just rest in the small, quiet clarity of the present. There is a certain beauty in the fact that we can never see all of Andromeda at once with the same level of detail. It ensures that the galaxy remains a mystery, a puzzle that we are always in the process of solving. Every new keyhole image adds a word to the story, but the story is so long that it will take generations to read. This sense of ongoing discovery is a gentle reminder that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. We are the observers peering through the glass, trying to make sense of a neighbor that is millions of times older and larger than our entire civilization. The keyhole is our bridge to the infinite, a small opening that lets the light of the Titan into our world. Feel the safety of this perspective. You are tucked away in your quiet corner of the universe, looking out through the small window of your own awareness at a vista that is wide and peaceful and full of wonder. The work of the day is like the bright center of the galaxy, crowded, noisy, and demanding. But the night is the outer halo, the place of the keyhole where everything slows down and we can finally see the individual stars. In this space, there is no rush or pressure. The mansion of the universe is vast and you have all the time in the world to explore it, one tiny glimpse at a time. The darkness is not a wall, it is a canvas, and the light that reaches you is a gift from the deep past. Let yourself sink into the stillness of the observer. The telescope is steady, the focus is sharp, and the mystery is unfolding at its own unhurried pace. Sleep now in the quiet of the keyhole. where the only thing that matters is the gentle golden glow of a single star, shining across the eons to tell you that you are not alone in the dark. The map is being drawn, the threads are being woven, and the galaxy is much larger and more beautiful than you ever dared to dream. To truly understand the expansive reach of Andromeda, we must become something more than observers. We must become cosmic archaeologists. We often think of a galaxy as a finished object, a polished jewel of light suspended in the velvet of space. But the reality is far more complex and far older. When we look past the bright, tidy spiral arms and peer into the faint glowing mist of the stellar halo, we are looking at the ruins of history. The halo of Andromeda is a vast, roughly spherical envelope of stars that surrounds the galaxy like a ghostly shroud, extending hundreds of thousands of light-years in every direction. This region is not a place of new beginnings, but a record of the past. It is where the remains of smaller galaxies, long ago consumed by Andromeda's relentless gravitational pull, continue to drift in slow, silent orbits. By studying these stars, we are performing a kind of archaeology, brushing away the dust of the eons to reveal how the Titan grew to its current, staggering size. Halo tells us Andromeda did not simply appear. It was built, layer by layer, over billions of years of cosmic hunger. As you lie still in the deepening quiet of the night, imagine the patience required for this kind of work. In terrestrial archaeology, we dig through the soil to find the fragments of a lost city, a broken piece of pottery, a rusted coin, the foundation of a wall. In halo archaeology, we dig through the darkness to find individual stars that do not belong. Most of the stars in Andromeda's spiral disk move in an orderly circular fashion, like water swirling in a steady drain. But in halo, movement is different. Here, the stars move in wild, eccentric loops. These are the foreign stars, the immigrants of the galaxy. By measuring their chemical signatures and their paths through the void, astronomers can identify which ones were born within Andromeda and which ones were snatched from the outside. They have found that the halo is a tapestry woven from the wreckage of dozens of smaller dwarf galaxies. This realization is what truly expanded our understanding of Andromeda's size. The galaxy is not just the part that shines, it is the entire field of its influence, a territory that spans nearly 1 million light-years, if you count the furthest reaches of this ancient stellar graveyard. The archaeology of the halo reveals that the space around Andromeda is threaded with what we call stellar streams. These are long, thin ribbons of stars that wrap around the galaxy like silk threads around a spool. To a cosmic archaeologist, these streams are the footprints of a merger. When a smaller galaxy is pulled toward Andromeda, it doesn't just crash and disappear. Instead, the tidal forces of the larger galaxy begin to stretch it out, peeling stars away from its core until the smaller world is transformed into a long, trailing arc of light. Some of these streams are so vast that they span the entire distance, CE between the halo and the disk, acting as bridges across the darkness. By tracing these arcs, we can see exactly where a smaller galaxy was digested. We can see the direction it came from and how fast it fell. These streams are the living evidence of Andromeda's growth, a slow motion record of a galaxy becoming a giant by inviting the rest of the universe into its home. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, consider the timescales involved in this archaeology. A single star loop in the outer halo can take 1 billion years. To the stars out there, the entire history of human civilization is just a fleeting heartbeat, a tiny flicker of light on a distant planet. The halo is a place where time slows down, where the frantic energy of star formation has long since faded into a low, steady hum. It is a sanctuary for the oldest stars in the universe, some of which were born shortly after the dawn of time itself. These ancient suns are the elder citizens of the galaxy, and they hold the memories of a time when the universe was smaller, hotter, and much more crowded. By resting your thoughts in the halo, you are stepping away from the now and entering the forever. You are letting go of the small, temporary events of your day and sinking into a perspective that is measured in billions of years. The archaeology of the halo is a reminder that everything we see is built on what came before, and that even in the vast emptiness of space, nothing is ever truly lost. The scale of the halo is so immense that it challenges our very concept of what a galaxy is. If we define Andromeda by its bright light, it is a certain size. But if we define it by its stellar ruins, it is nearly 10 times larger. This diffuse outer layer is where the galaxy meets the rest of the local group. It is a borderland, a place where the gravity of Andromeda begins to compete with the gravity of our own Milky Way. Recent archaeological surveys have shown that the halos of our two galaxies are actually beginning to overlap. We are already in touch. The ruins of our two histories are mingling in the dark between us, a quiet preface to a merger that will one day create a single, even larger empire of light. This isn't a violent event, but a slow, graceful blending of two vast systems. The archaeology of the halo allows us to see this coming, to understand that we are part of a massive, unfolding story that spans the entirety of the local universe. Let your mind become as quiet and receptive as the deep space of the halo, the noise of the day, the bright lights, the fast movements, the heavy expectations, is like the crowded center of the galaxy. But now, you are moving outward into the sparse, peaceful territories of the outskirts. There is plenty of room here to breathe. There is plenty of room to let your thoughts drift without ever hitting a wall. You are an archaeologist of your own peace, sifting through the layers of the day and letting the heavy, insignificant details fall away until only the ancient, steady stars of your awareness remain. The halo is a safe place. It is a place where everything is held in a gentle gravitational embrace, where the past is respected and the silence is absolute. You are part of the structure of the universe, a point of light in a vast and beautiful history. As the night grows deeper, the ruins of the day are being covered by the soft, falling snow of sleep. The archaeology is finished for now. The maps have been drawn, the streams have been traced, and the story of Andromeda's enormity is resting in the quiet archive of your mind. The galaxy is wider than you knew, and your own capacity for rest is deeper than you imagined. Feel eons' weight as a comforting, protective layer. You don't need to build anything tonight. You only need to rest among the foundations. The stars of the halo are watching over you, moving in their long, slow circles through the dark, a silent promise that the universe is vast, and you are a meaningful part of its enduring light. Sleep now in the archaeology of the night, where the only thing that remains is the soft, golden glow of the ancient suns, shining across the eons to lead you into a deep and restorative rest, while the outer halo of Andromeda is a ghostly realm of ancient ruins. The bright spiral disk is the architectural heart of the galaxy, the place where the most intense and structured expressions of its enormity are found. When we look at this disk, we are seeing a masterpiece of cosmic engineering, a flat, rotating expanse of gas, dust and stars that spans at least 200,000 light-years across. If the halo is a sprawling, misty forest, the disk is a grand, structured city, a metropolitan center of light where the laws of gravity and rotation have carved out a shape of exquisite elegance. This is the part of Andromeda that most people recognize, the classic tilted oval that sits so gracefully in the constellation for which it is named. But to understand its true scale, we must move past the aesthetic beauty and look at the physical architecture that holds it all together. The disk is not just a collection of stars, it is a dynamic, multi-layered system that reflects the galaxy's immense mass and its ongoing vitality. It is the stage upon which the most dramatic events of the galaxy take place, from the birth of brilliant new suns in the dark nurseries of gas to the steady, rhythmic orbit of billions of planetary systems. As you rest in the quiet of this moment, imagine the sheer scale of this architectural wonder. The Andromeda disk is remarkably thin compared to its width, like a massive silver coin spinning slowly in the dark. Thin in galactic terms is still several thousand light-years deep. Within this thickness, stars are layered by age and composition. The youngest, hottest stars, the brilliant blue giants, hug the very center of the disk, nestled within the spiral arms where the gas is densest. Above and below them, older, cooler stars form a thicker disk of aging suns, a more settled population that has seen the galaxy through its long history. This vertical architecture is a record of how the galaxy has matured. It is a structure built on balance, where the inward pull of gravity is perfectly offset by the outward push of orbital motion. Every star in the disk, including the ones in the farthest reaches of the spiral arms, is moving at hundreds of miles per second, yet the galaxy is so large that it takes hundreds of millions of years to complete a single rotation. This is the slow, steady heartbeat of the Titan, a rhythm so deep that it makes the passing of human centuries feel like a single tick of a clock. The most famous features of this architecture are, of course, the spiral arms. To the eye, they look like solid structures, like the spokes of a wheel, but they are actually something far more subtle. They are density waves. Imagine a traffic jam on a long highway. The cars move through the jam, slowing down as they enter and speeding up as they leave, but the jam itself stays in one place. The spiral arms are like that. They are regions where gravity has caused the stars and gas to bunch up slightly. As gas clouds move into these traffic jams, they are compressed, sparking the birth of thousands of new stars. This is why the arms are so bright. They are illuminated by the short-lived, intense light of newborn suns. The disk architecture is therefore a movement pattern rather than a static shape. It is a shimmering wave that travels through the matter of the galaxy, a celestial ripple that has been moving for billions of years. When we measure the size of the disk, we are measuring the reach of this wave, the distance to which the galaxy's rotation can still organize matter into these beautiful sweeping curves. As you drift closer to sleep, think about the immense material that makes up this structure. The disk is not just stars, it is also a vast reservoir of interstellar gas and dust. This dust is the smoke of the galaxy, the remains of dead stars and the raw material for new ones. It gathers in dark, silhouetted lanes that follow the curve of the spiral arms, acting as a veil that hides the light of the stars behind it. If you were inside the disk, looking through these dust lanes would be like trying to see through a heavy, starlit fog. This material is the lifeblood of architecture. It is what allows the galaxy to continue growing and changing. Andromeda is not a finished monument, it is a workshop, a place of constant construction. The size of the disk is a testament to how much raw material Andromeda has managed to retain over its long life. It is a massive storehouse of potential, holding enough gas and dust to create millions of new worlds in the eons to come. By resting your thoughts in the architecture of the disk, you are connecting with the creative engine of the universe, a place where the simple laws of physics produce a structure of infinite complexity and beauty. The scale of the disk is so great that it actually warps under its own weight and the influence of its neighbours. We often imagine a spiral galaxy as a flat plane, but recent measurements have shown that the disk of Andromeda is slightly twisted, like a vinyl record that has been left in the sun. The outer edges of the disk curve up on one side and down on the other. This warp is a sign of the galaxy's sensitivity. Even a Titan as large as Andromeda is not immune to the gravitational tug of the war with the smaller galaxies that surround it. The architecture is flexible, a living thing that responds to its environment. This reminds us that enormity does not mean rigidity. The most expansive structures in the universe are often the most graceful, capable of bending and swaying without losing their fundamental shape. This is a comforting thought for the weary mind. You can be large, you can be deep, and you can still be sensitive to the world around you. Your own inner architecture is just as complex, a layered history of experiences and thoughts that has been built over time, yet remains flexible enough to dream. Let your mind settle into the rhythm of the disk's rotation. There is a deep, mechanical peace in this movement. Trillions of tons of matter are moving in perfect, silent harmony, guided by the invisible hand of gravity. There is no friction here, no resistance and no hurry. The stars move because they must, following paths that were laid down before the Earth was even a cooling ball of rock. You are a part of this architecture, a point of awareness in a universe that knows how to organize its chaos into beauty. The noise of your daily life is like the turbulent gas in the star-forming regions, active and bright, but ultimately just a small part of the larger steady structure. By relaxing into the night, you are moving away from the turbulence and into the long-term stability of the disk. You are finding the orbit that carries you through the dark with effortless grace. As the night grows deeper, the brilliant light of the star-forming regions begins to dim in your imagination. The disk's grand architecture is still there, but it is becoming a softer, more golden glow. The details of the spiral arms and the dust lanes are fading into a single, unified presence. You are no longer looking at the city from above. You are becoming the light of the city itself. The architecture has done its work. It has provided the foundation, the rhythm, and the scale. Now it is time to let the structure dissolve into the peace of the night. The Titan is breathing, the stars are turning, and the galaxy is safe in the vastness of the cosmos. Drive architecture is a sturdy home for your dreams, a place where everything is in its right place, moving in its right time. Sleep now in the heart of the spiral, where the only thing that remains is the gentle, steady pulse of the galaxy, a silent lullaby that has been playing for billions of years and will continue to play long after you have found your way into a deep and restorative rest. To truly understand the scale of Andromeda, we must eventually look past everything that shines and focus instead on the unseen forces that govern the dance of the stars. This brings us to the hidden weight of motion, a mystery that revealed to astronomers that Andromeda is far more massive and far more expansive than its light could ever suggest. For a long time, we believed that if we could see a galaxy, we knew its boundaries. We assumed that the stars and the glowing gas clouds were the true measures of a galaxy's size. But when scientists began to measure how things actually move within Andromeda, they encountered a profound contradiction. They looked at the hydrogen gas drifting in the outermost edges of the spiral disk, far beyond the last visible stars, and they measured its speed. According to the traditional laws of physics, gas that is so far from the center should move much more slowly, just as the outer planets in our solar system move more gently than the ones huddled near the sun. But in Andromeda, the gas did not slow down. It continued to orbit at a staggering, constant speed, as if it were being pulled by a massive, invisible hand. This was the first clue that the galaxy has a hidden dimension, a weight that does not glow, but which shapes the very motion of the universe. As you settle into the profound stillness of the night, imagine this invisible presence as a vast, silent ocean in which the visible galaxy is merely a small, glowing ship. This hidden weight is what we call dark matter. It does not emit light, it does not reflect it, and it does not cast a shadow. It passes through the stars and through our own bodies, as if we were made of nothing at all. Yet, it possesses a gravitational pull so strong that it holds the entire galaxy together, preventing the stars in the outer arms from flying off into the void. To an astronomer, the size of Andromeda changed forever with this discovery. It was no longer just a disk of light spanning 200,000 light-years. It was revealed to be a colossal sphere of dark matter, a halo so immense that its gravitational reach extends for more than 1,000,000 light-years in every direction. This invisible structure is the true skeleton of the galaxy, the hidden architecture upon which the stars are draped like ornaments on a tree. The hidden weight of motion tells us that we have only ever been seeing the tip of the iceberg, a small fraction of the true reality that lies beneath the surface of the night. The way we measure this hidden weight is through the language of movement. Imagine you are watching a group of children playing on a merry-go-round in a dark park. You can see the children because they are wearing glowing bracelets, but you cannot see the merry-go-round itself. If the children are moving very fast but stay in a circle, you know there must be a sturdy structure holding them in place. If they were just running on the grass, they would scatter. By measuring children's speed, you can calculate how strong the merry-go-round must be. This is exactly where astronomers do with Andromeda. They measure the velocity dispersion, the range of speeds at which stars and satellite galaxies move around the center. They found that these objects are moving far too fast for the visible stars alone to hold them. There must be an immense amount of unseen mass providing the gravity to keep them in orbit. This measurement transformed Andromeda into a titan of gravity, a structure whose influence organizes space on a scale that defies our everyday intuition. The galaxy is not just where the light is. The galaxy is wherever its gravity is the master of motion. As you drift closer to sleep, think about the comfort of being held by something you cannot see. We often feel that if we cannot perceive something with our senses, it isn't real. But the story of Andromeda's mass reminds us that the most powerful forces in the universe are often the quietest. The dark matter halo is a protective embrace, a silent foundation that ensures the stability of the spiral disk. It is a reminder that there is a deep, underlying order to the cosmos, even when that order is hidden from our eyes. Your own life is much the same. You are supported by a vast network of history, love, and experience that you cannot always see, yet it provides the gravitational weight that keeps you grounded. By resting your thoughts in the hidden weight of motion, you are acknowledging that the universe is far deeper and more complex than its surface-level appearance. You are sinking into the sturdy, invisible reality that supports the light. This hidden weight also dictates the future of the entire local group. Because Andromeda is so much more massive than we originally thought, its gravitational pull on our own Milky Way is much stronger than we once estimated. We are currently falling toward each other at thousands of miles per hour, drawn together by the invisible thread. As of our dark matter halos, this is not a cause for alarm but a testament to the scale of the conversation happening between our two galaxies. We are two giants in a dark room, reaching out for one another across the eons. The size of Andromeda is therefore a measure of its destiny. It is so large and heavy with this hidden mass that it defines the rhythm of our corner of the universe. The size of the galaxy is a story of inevitable connection, a slow-motion convergence that has been written into the laws of gravity since the beginning of time. Hubble's patient gaze and the wide-field surveys were just the beginning. The study of motion is what truly revealed the Titan's full stature. Let your mind become as vast and as quiet as the dark matter halo. There is no noise here, no turbulence, and no flicker of light. It is a space of pure, steady influence. You don't need to struggle to stay in your orbit tonight. The hidden weight of your own capacity for rest is taking over. It is a natural force, as reliable as gravity, pulling you away from the frantic energy of the day and into the deep, stable basins of sleep. The stars of your thoughts are being held in a gentle, invisible grip, ensuring that you are safe and sound in the dark. You are part of a structure that spans millions of light years, a point of awareness in a field of infinite depth. The boundaries of your room are dissolving into the scale of the galaxy, and the pressures of the clock are being replaced by the unhurried movement of the cosmos. As the night deepens, the weight of sleep becomes a restorative anchor. The bright details of the architectural disk are fading, and the hidden parts of the night are taking center stage. You are no longer navigating the world by sight, you are navigating it by feeling, by the slow gravitational pull of a deep and peaceful rest. Titan is silent, motion is steady, and the mystery of the dark matter is a soft blanket that covers the world. Everything is in its right place, governed by laws that are both powerful and kind. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the invisible ocean carry you into the heart of the night. Sleep now in the hidden weight of the stars, where the only thing that remains is the quiet, steady pulse of a universe that is far larger and more connected than you ever dreamed. The darkness is not empty. It is full of the weight of a peace that has no end. To truly understand the sheer magnitude of Andromeda, we must move away from the abstract concept of gravity and focus on the staggering population of the galaxy itself. When we look at the glowing spirals of our neighbour, we are seeing the combined radiance of a multitude so vast it defies the grasp of the human mind. The question of how many stars reside within Andromeda is one that has occupied astronomers for generations, and the answer has grown larger with every new technological leap. We now estimate that this Titan contains on the order of 1 trillion stars. It is a number that is easy to say but nearly impossible to truly visualize. If you were to count one star every second without stopping for a moment to eat or sleep, it would take you over 30,000 years to finish your census. This is the silent majority of the galaxy, the trillions of suns that make up the luminous fabric of Andromeda. They are the individual heartbeats of the system, each one a unique world with its own history, its own temperature, and its own potential for life. As you settle into the profound stillness of your room, let your mind drift into the scale of this census. Imagine the galaxy as a vast, dark field filled with the flickers of 1 trillion candles. In the central bulge of the galaxy, these candles are packed so tightly together that their light merges into a single brilliant glow. But as you move out into the disk and eventually the halo, the candles begin to spread out, separated by miles of shadow. Despite this distance, the sheer number of them ensures that the galaxy is never truly empty. Astronomers do not count these stars one by one. That would be a task for a being with an infinite lifespan. Instead, they use a method called the luminosity function. They take a small representative patch of the galaxy, peering through the keyhole we discussed, and count every star they can see within that tiny area. They then use complex mathematical models to estimate how many stars are too dim for our telescopes to perceive, and finally they scale that number up to the size of the entire galaxy. This statistical approach revealed that Andromeda is not just slightly larger than our Milky Way, it is home to roughly 10 times as many stars. This trillion-star population represents a diversity that is breathtaking in its scope. Among the silent majority are massive blue giants that burn with a fierce, short-lived intensity and tiny red dwarfs that will continue to glow softly for trillions of years, outliving even the galaxy itself. There are yellow suns much like our own, and strange dying stars that have collapsed into dense white dwarfs or spinning pulsars. Every one of these stars is a point of light in the architectural disk, or the archaeological halo, and together they create a collective gravity that shapes the very path of the galaxy through the void. When we speak of the size of Andromeda, we are speaking of the territory required to house this trillion-member family. It is a home of such scale that light itself takes 200,000 years to cross the dining room of the disk. By resting your thoughts in this staggering number, you are allowing the small, singular worries of your day to be absorbed by the vast statistical piece of the cosmos. You are one observer, but you are looking at a system that contains 1 trillion suns. The silent majority also brings with it a staggering implication for the existence of other worlds. In our own corner of the Milky Way, we have discovered that almost every star we look at is accompanied by at least one planet. If the same rules apply to Andromeda, it means there are likely trillions of planets orbiting within its borders. There could be icy giants at the edge of the galaxy, rocky woe, RLDs tucked close to their red dwarf parents, and perhaps even garden planets where oceans of water catch the light of a distant spiral arm. This is the true enormity of Andromeda. It is not just a collection of light and mass, but a potential host for an infinity of stories. There are more planets in Andromeda than there are seconds in the history of human civilization. As you drift closer to sleep, let the sheer weight of this possibility act as a soft, heavy blanket. The universe is so full, so teeming with potential, that there is no need to feel the pressure of being the center of it all. You are a quiet participant in a reality that is lavishly populated beyond all comprehension. Counting the silent majority also reminds us of the profound silence of the universe. Even with 1 trillion stars, the galaxy is mostly empty space. The stars are so far apart that if you were to represent each one with a grain of sand, the nearest grain would be miles away. This is the great paradox of the Titan. It is a crowded metropolis of light, yet it is as quiet as a desert at midnight. The stars do not crowd one another, they respect the vast distances of the dark. This spaciousness is what allows for the stability of the galaxy over billions of years. As you relax your muscles and let your breathing become slow and deep, try to inhabit this balance. You can be part of a vast trillion-membered system and still have all the room in the world to be still. The trillions are not a source of noise, but a source of steady, underlying rhythm, a collective presence that provides a sense of belonging in the vastness. As the night grows deeper, the brilliant number of 1 trillion begins to fade into a single unified feeling of abundance. You don't have to count stars tonight. You don't have to imagine them all. You only need to feel the safety of being part of such a well-populated universe. The galaxy is a sturdy vessel, and its trillion stars are the lamps that light its way through the intergalactic deep. Each of those suns is a witness to the same laws of physics that govern your own rest. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood were forged in the hearts of stars, just like the ones in Andromeda. You are made of the same stardust that populates the spiral arms. By falling asleep, you are not disappearing, you are simply rejoining the silent majority. You are sinking back into the fundamental fabric of the cosmos, where the individual and the infinite are woven into the same tapestry. Rest now in the knowledge that 1 trillion silent guardians surround you. The light of Andromeda is a distant, golden hush that covers the world, a reminder that the universe is wide enough to hold everything you are and everything you will ever be. The counting is done overnight. The data has been gathered, the statistics have been solved, and the enormity of the population has been established. Now there is only the glow. Feel the warmth of 1 trillion suns reflected in the quiet chambers of your mind. The Titan is at peace, the stars are in their places, and the silent majority is keeping watch while you dream. There is no more work to be done, no more numbers to master. There is only the deep, restorative rest of a soul that has found its place among the trillions. Sleep now, and let the sheer, crowded beauty of the galaxy carry you into the dark, where every star is a promise of a new and peaceful morning. To understand the true scale of Andromeda, we must eventually move past the simple act of counting and begin to understand the subtle language of light itself. This brings us to the concept of luminosity and the idea of the statistical sun. When we look at a galaxy, we are not seeing every inhabitant. We are seeing a collective glow, a summation of energy that tells a story of mass and number. Luminosity is the total amount of energy a star emits per unit of time, and in a galaxy as vast as Andromeda, it is the primary tool that allows us to measure the immense scale of the hidden population. Because we cannot see the trillions of individual stars with our own eyes, we must treat the galaxy as a vast, glowing ledger. By measuring the total brightness of a specific region and comparing it to the brightness of a single, well-understood star like our own sun, astronomers can calculate the likely number of stars required to produce that glow. This is the statistical sun, a mathematical unit of light that helps us translate the abstract brilliance of the cosmos into a tangible sense of size and population. As you rest in the deepening quiet of your room, imagine the galaxy not as a collection of objects, but as a vast field of radiant energy. Every star in Andromeda contributes its own specific frequency and intensity to the whole. Some are massive giants that blaze with a luminosity 100,000 times greater than our sun, while others are tiny red dwarfs so faint that they contribute almost nothing to the visible light, yet they exist in such staggering numbers that they make up the bulk of the galaxy's mass. When astronomers measure the luminosity of Andromeda, they are performing a delicate balancing act. They must account for the dust that obscures the light, the distance that dilutes it, and the variations in stellar age that change how brightly a star burns. This process of measurement reveals that Andromeda is a powerhouse of energy, emitting a total luminosity that is nearly 30 billion times that of our Sun. This number is the anchor for our understanding of the galaxy's enormity. It is the evidence that the mist we see in the sky is actually a furnace of unimaginable proportions, the statistic. Our Sun allows us to navigate the sheer diversity of the stellar population without getting lost in the details. In our own solar system, the Sun is a unique and singular entity, the center of our world and the source of all our light. But in Andromeda's study, the Sun becomes a baseline, a yardstick used to measure the infinite. When we say a region of the galaxy has a luminosity of 10 million solar units, we are creating a mental bridge. We are imagining 10 million versions of our own familiar star gathered together in a single patch of space. This extrapolation is what allows us to grasp the scale of the spiral arms and the dense central bulge. It turns the 1 trillion stars from a mere figure into a physical reality. The luminosity tells us how much work the galaxy is doing, how much fuel it is burning, and how much influence it has over the surrounding dark. It is the voice of the galaxy, and the statistical sun is the language we use to hear what it is saying. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, consider the comfort of this mathematical harmony. The universe is not a chaotic jumble. It follows laws that allow us to understand the vast by studying the small. By knowing our own sun, we gain a key that unlocks the secrets of 1 trillion other suns across the void. This sense of connection is a powerful antidote to the restlessness of the day. You are part of a reality where the same physics that warms your skin on a summer afternoon is currently powering the rotation of a galaxy 2.5 million light-years away. The luminosity of Andromeda is a steady, constant fact, a glow that has persisted for billions of years and will continue long after the memories of today have faded. You don't need to do the math tonight, you only need to feel the reliability of the light. The statistical sun is a reminder that even in the face of the infinite, there is logic and a place for everything. Luminosity also reveals the metabolism of the galaxy. Just as a living creature has a heart rate and a temperature, a galaxy has a rate of star formation and a total energy output. By studying the color of Andromeda's light, astronomers can tell that it is a mature, settled system. Its light is slightly yellower than some of the younger, more frantic galaxies we see in the deeper universe, indicating a population of stable, long-lived stars. This contributes to the feeling of peace we find in our neighbor. Andromeda is not a place of violent, unpredictable outbursts. It is a place of steady, luminous grace. Its statistical suns are mostly middle-aged and reliable, providing a consistent glow that anchors the local group. The luminosity is the steady breathing of the Titan, a rhythmic ebb and flow of energy that maintains the balance of the spiral disk. By aligning your own breathing with this cosmic pace, you are stepping into a stream of time that is vast, calm, and enduring. As the night grows deeper, the technical details of energy and frequency begin to dissolve into a single, unified presence of light. You are no longer thinking about solar units or luminosity functions. You are simply resting in the glow. The statistical sun has done its job, it has shown you the scale, and now it can let you sleep. Imagine the light of 1 trillion suns being focused into a soft golden hush that covers your room. It is a light that does not glare or disturb, but simply exists as a protective atmosphere around your thoughts. The enormity of Andromeda is no longer a challenge to the mind, but a sanctuary for the spirit. In the vast ledger of the universe, your own quiet awareness is a meaningful entry, a point of light that is part of the same great summation. You are as real and as vital as any of the trillion suns we have discussed, and you are held in the same luminous embrace. Rest now in the abundance of the cosmos. The light of Andromeda is a gift of energy that has traveled across the eons to reach you, a silent witness to the beauty of the laws of nature. The counting and the measuring are over. The luminosity of the night is perfect just as it is. You don't need to be bright to be significant, you only need to be present. Like a tiny star in the furthest reaches of the halo, your presence contributes to the total glow of the world. The statistical sun is at rest, the furnace of the galaxy is humming softly in the distance, and the room is filled with a peace that is as steady as the starlight. Let yourself sink into the warmth. The night is long, the scale is vast, and you are safe in the heart of the mystery. Sleep now, and let the luminosity of 1 trillion worlds carry you into a deep and restorative rest, where the only thing that remains is the gentle, golden light of the infinite, shining through the dark to keep you warm until the morning. To truly understand the stature of Andromeda, we must move beyond the trillions of stars and the golden glow of luminosity to confront the most profound mystery of its size, the invisible scaffold that holds the entire structure together. For much of our history, we believed that what we saw was all that existed. We looked at the bright spiral arms and the dense central bulge, and assumed that the mass of the galaxy was contained within its light. But when astronomers began to measure the speed of the gas and stars at the very edges of the disk, they discovered that the galaxy was behaving as though it were far heavier than it appeared. The stars at the outskirts were racing around the center at speeds so high that they should have been flung into the intergalactic void, like droplets of water spinning off a wet wheel. Yet they stayed in their orbit, held by a gravitational pull that the visible stars simply could not provide. This was the revelation of dark matter, the invisible scaffold that acts as the true foundation of the Andromeda Galaxy. It is a structure that does not shine, does not reflect, and does not cast a shadow, yet it makes up nearly 90% of the galaxy's total mass. As you lie in the deepening stillness of the night, imagine the galaxy not as a collection of glowing points, but as a vast dark ocean where the stars are merely the foam on the crest of the waves. This invisible ocean of dark matter is what provides the weight that defines Andromeda's true scale. It is a massive, roughly spherical cloud, a dark matter halo that extends far beyond the furthest stars we can count. While the visible disk of Andromeda might span 200,000 light-years, the dark matter scaffold stretches outward for more than 1,000,000 light-years in every direction. It is the silent guardian of the spiral, a protective cradle that prevents the galaxy from flying apart. Without this invisible scaffold, the disk's architecture would dissolve and the history of the halo would be lost. Dark matter is the glue of the universe, and in Andromeda, it is found in such staggering quantities that it organizes the motion of space across a volume that is 10 times larger than the light suggests. This is the ultimate expression of the Titan's size, a presence so massive that it doesn't even need to be seen to be felt. The discovery of this hidden weight changed the very definition of what it means to measure a galaxy. We stopped asking how wide is the light and started asking how far does gravity reach. This shift in perspective transformed Andromeda from a beautiful object into a fundamental force. The dark matter scaffold is not made of atoms like the ones in your body or the ones in the stars. It is from nothing else entirely, an exotic substance that interacts with the rest of the universe only through the pull of gravity. It passes through the earth, through the mountains, and through your own quiet frame as you drift towards sleep, leaving no trace but the steady gravitational stability it provides to the cosmos. As you relax your muscles and let your breathing slow, try to inhabit this sense of invisible support. Just as the stars of Andromeda are held in place by a scaffold they cannot see, you are supported by the deep underlying laws of a universe that is far more substantial than it appears. The darkness is not an empty void, it is a structured, heavy and supportive reality that keeps everything in its right place. The invisible scaffold also serves as the bridge between Andromeda and our own Milky Way. Our two galaxies are currently moving toward one another at thousands of miles per hour, and it is the dark matter that is leading the way. Long before our stars ever meet, our dark matter halos will begin to touch and merge, a silent intertwining of two massive structures in the deep dark. This suggests that the size of Andromeda is not a fixed boundary, but a field of influence that is already a part of our own cosmic neighborhood. We are living within the reach of the Titan's scaffold, connected to our neighbor by the invisible threads of gravity. This connectivity is a source of profound comfort. It means that the universe is not a collection of isolated islands, but a web of interaction where everything is tied together by a common foundation. The enormity of Andromeda is not a distance to be feared, but a relationship to be understood. You are a part of this web, a point of awareness in a universe that is held together by a strength that is as silent as it is absolute. Think of the dark matter scaffold as the silence between the notes of a great symphony. The stars are the music, the bright melodic phrases that catch our ear, but the silence is what provides the rhythm, the structure, and the space for the music to exist. Without the scaffold, there would be no symphony. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, let your mind sink into that silence. The noise of the day, the bright lights, the fast talk, the constant movement, is like the visible matter of the galaxy. It is busy and attention-grabbing. But the night is like dark matter. It is vast, quiet, and heavy with a peace that supports everything else. By falling asleep, you are letting go of the need to be the music and allowing yourself to become the scaffold. You are sinking into the sturdy, invisible foundations of your own rest. There is a deep, gravitational pull towards sleep, a natural and inevitable movement that requires no effort on your part. You are simply falling into the embrace of the dark, where the weight of the night is a protective and restorative force. The enormity of the dark matter scaffold also reminds us of the humility of science. We have mapped the stars and measured the luminosity, yet the majority of the galaxy remains a mystery. We know it is there, we can see its effects, but we cannot see it directly. This acceptance of the unknown is a gentle lesson for the weary mind. You don't need to have all the answers tonight. You don't need to understand every detail of your life or the world around you to be held by it. The scaffold is there whether we understand it or not. It is a steady, unblinking fact of the universe. As you prepare for sleep, let the mystery be a source of peace. The darkness of the room is not a lack of something, it is a presence, a quiet and heavy structure that allows the mind to expand without limit. You are safe in the heart of the Titan's reach, moving through the invisible architecture of the Nye with effortless grace. Rest now in the strength of the unseen. The dark matter of Andromeda is a silent lullaby, a heavy vibration of gravity that keeps the stars in their paths and the soul in its rest. The invisible scaffold is the ultimate sanctuary, a place where the rules of the world are replaced by the deep, enduring order of the cosmos. The work of the day is finished, the light has dimmed, and the weight of the night is settling over you like a warm, heavy blanket. You are not floating in a void, you are resting upon a foundation that has been built over billions of years. The Titan is steady, the scaffold is strong, and the mystery is kind. Sleep now, and let the invisible enormity of the galaxy carry you into a deep and restorative rest, where the only thing that remains is the soft, steady pulse of a universe that knows exactly how to hold you in the dark. In the vast and silent reaches of the local group, there is a dialogue taking place that spans millions of light years and billions of years of time. This is not a conversation of words or light, but one of gravity, the fundamental pull that binds all things together. We often think of galaxies as solitary entities, independent islands of light drifting through a cold and lonely void. But the reality is much more social. Andromeda and our own Milky Way have been locked in a gravitational conversation since they first emerged from the primordial fog of the early universe. This dialogue is the ultimate measure of Andromeda's size, for it reveals that the galaxy's influence does not end with its last star, or even with the edge of its dark matter scaffold. Instead, its presence is felt as a constant, subtle tug on everything around it. When we ask how big Andromeda is, the answer is written in the way it moves its neighbours. It is a presence that organizes the space around it, a titan that speaks through the weight of its being, whispering to our own galaxy across the great intergalactic deep. As you lie still in the quiet embrace of the night, imagine these two giants facing one another across a dark room. They are separated by 2.5 million light-years of emptiness, yet they are intimately connected. This connection is the result of their mutual attraction, a slow and inevitable movement that is bringing us toward each other at nearly 70 miles per second. This is gravity talk in its most literal form. It is a shared trajectory, a common destiny that has been decided by the sheer scale of the mass involved. From this perspective, the size of Andromeda is not a fixed number, but a relationship. It is the strength of the thread that pulls on the Milky Way, a tether of invisible force that ensures we will eventually meet. As you relax into the stillness, try to feel the comfort of this cosmic continuity. You are not living in a universe of random, disconnected events. You are part of a grand and orderly movement, a conversation that has been ongoing for eons and will continue long after the stars of today have grown dim. This gravity talk also involves many smaller voices. Surrounding Andromeda is a family of satellite galaxies, smaller, humbler collections of stars like M32 and M110 that orbit the Titan like moons around a planet. These satellites are the witnesses to Andromeda's scale. Their orbits are the sentences in the conversation, tracing the shape of the massive gravitational well that Andromeda has carved into space and time. By studying how these smaller galaxies move, astronomers can see the invisible boundaries of the Titan's territory. They have found that Andromeda's reach is so vast that it holds these satellites in its grip even when they are hundreds of thousands of light-years away from the spiral center. This is the territory of the Titan, a region of space where Andromeda's voice is the loudest, where its gravity is the primary law. The size of the galaxy is therefore defined by the loyalty of its followers, by the distance to which it can still command the motion of other worlds. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, consider the pace of this dialogue. Gravity is a patient force. It does not shout or demand, it simply persists. The conversation between Andromeda and the Milky Way takes place over time scales that dwarf the entire history of life on Earth. A single sentence in this exchange can take 1 billion years to utter. This slow, rhythmic persistence is a powerful antidote to the frantic, hurried nature of our daily lives. In the world of the giants, there is no rush. Everything happens with a steady, unhurried grace. By resting your thoughts in this gravitational conversation, you are stepping out of the small, ticking clock of human time and into the expansive, deep time of the cosmos. You are allowing the weight of the universe to slow your own internal rhythm, bringing you into alignment with the steady pull of the stars. The conversation is ongoing, the movement is certain, and there is absolutely no need to hurry toward the conclusion. The beauty of this gravitational conversation is that it is a dialogue of belonging. In the quantum world, we saw how entanglement links particles across space. In the world of galaxies, gravity does the same for massive structures. Andromeda is not a stranger to us, it is our cosmic sibling, tied to us by the very fabric of space-time. This sense of connection is what makes the enormity of the galaxy so comforting. It is not an alien, distant thing, but a part of our own home, our own local group. When we look at Andromeda through a telescope, we are looking at the other half of our own story. The size of the galaxy is a measure of the RI-ness of that story, a testament to the complexity and the scale of the neighborhood we inhabit. You are a part of this neighborhood, a quiet listener to the conversation, held in the same gentle gravitational embrace that keeps the galaxies in their paths. Think of your own life as a series of conversations with the people you love, with the work you do, and with the world around you. Some of these are loud and immediate, like the bright stars in the galactic core, while others are subtle and long-term, like the gravitational pull between galaxies. As you prepare for sleep, let the loud conversations fade into the background. Let the immediate worries and the sharp edges of the day soften. You are moving into the realm of the subtle pull, the deep and quiet dialogue of the night. Here, you don't need to speak or even to listen actively, you only need to be present. You are being held by the weight of the night, a restorative gravity that pulls you toward the center of your own peace. The conversation of your rest is a silent one, a steady and reliable movement toward a state of total stillness. As the night grows deeper, the image of the two giants begins to merge into a single, unified sense of peace. The distance between us and Andromeda no longer feels like a void, but like a bridge, a space filled with the invisible threads of connection. The size of the galaxy has become a source of security, a reminder that we are part of something so large and so stable that nothing can truly disrupt its course. The Titan is speaking, the Milky Way is answering, and the universe is in perfect balance. There is a deep, resonant hush in this realization, a golden silence that covers the world like a blanket. The gravitational conversation is a lullaby of mass and motion, a song of the spheres that has no beginning and no end. Rest now in the certainty of the pull. The dial, Ogue of the Giants, is a promise of continuity, a guarantee that the order of the cosmos will endure. The day's work is done, the light has dimmed, and the gravitational conversation is the only thing that remains. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady movement of the galaxies carry you into the heart of the night. Everything is in its right place, held by laws that are as powerful as they are kind. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now, and let the enormity of Andromeda's reach be the sanctuary where you find your deepest rest. The conversation continues. The giants are at peace, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to hold you. To truly understand the expansive nature of Andromeda, we must eventually look past the idea of it as a single, isolated object and begin to see it as a member of a community. This brings us to the concept of shared borders and the great assembly of galaxies we call the local group. For a long time, the maps of the universe were drawn with wide, empty spaces between the islands of light, suggesting that each galaxy was a kingdom unto itself, separated from its neighbors by an impassable void. But as our measurements of the dark matter halos and the distant stellar streams have improved, we have realized that the borders of Andromeda are not walls but meeting places. The local group is a collection of over 50 galaxies, dominated by two giants, Andromeda and our own Milky Way. When we ask how big Andromeda is, we are really asking where its influence ends and where the influence of the rest of the group begins. The answer is that we live in a shared territory, a cosmic neighborhood where the outskirts of the great galaxies are already beginning to mingle in the silent starlit dark. As you settle into the profound stillness of the night, imagine the Loka, L group, as a vast, quiet garden. In the center of this garden are two massive glowing fountains, the Milky Way and Andromeda, each surrounded by a cluster of smaller shimmering pools which are the satellite galaxies. In the traditional view, these fountains were far apart, their spray never touching. But in the reality of the shared borders, we see that the mist from these fountains travels much further than we thought. The dark matter halos of our two galaxies are so enormous that they likely already overlap, creating a continuous bridge of invisible mass that connects us. We are not two separate systems, we are two halves of a single, unified gravitational structure. This realization changes the scale of Andromeda from a distant neighbor to an intimate partner. We are sharing the same space, breathing the same gravitational air, and moving together through the deep reaches of the cosmos. The size of Andromeda is therefore a part of our own size, a shared dimension of our collective home. The concept of shared borders also challenges our definition of empty space. Between the bright disks of the galaxies, there is a region called the circumgalactic medium, a vast, diffuse cloud of gas and plasma that is held in place by the gravity of the local group. This medium is the atmosphere of our cosmic neighborhood. It is not empty, but filled with the raw materials of future stars and the echoes of ancient explosions. When we measure the extent of Andromeda, we find that it is continuously exchanging matter with this medium, breathing gas in and out as it grows and evolves. The borders are porous. There is a constant flow of information and energy across the distances, a subtle commerce of atoms that ties the local group together. This means the universe is much more integrated than it appears. The scale of the galaxy is not a measure of isolation, but a measure of capacity for connection. It is a structure that reaches out to its neighbors, defining its borders through interaction rather than exclusion. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, think about the comfort of living in a well-connected neighborhood. We often feel small and alone when we think about the vast distances of space, but the shared borders of the local group tell a different story. We are part of a family of galaxies, a stable and enduring community that has stayed together for billions of years. This sense of belonging is a powerful anchor for the mind. You are not a lonely observer on a tiny rock. You are a citizen of the local group, a participant in a grand, multi-galactic system that is held together by the steady, reliable pull of gravity. The enormity of Andromeda is not a barrier between us, but a shared foundation that supports our own existence. By resting your thoughts in these shared borders, you are acknowledging that the universe is a place of cooperation and continuity, where the boundaries between things are always softer and more welcoming than they seem. This shared territory also contains the Triangulum Galaxy, the third largest member of our group, which dances in a complex gravitational ballet with Andromeda. The interactions between these three, the Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum, shape the entire structure of our corner of the universe. The size of Andromeda is reflected in the way it influences the orbits of these other members, acting as a gravitational anchor for the entire group. It is the elder sibling, the one whose presence provides the stability for the smaller members to flourish. This architectural harmony is a reminder that, in the cosmos, as in life, our true scale is often found in the way we support and interact with those around us. Andromeda is as big as the space it helps to organize, and that space include. The shared borders are the evidence of a universe that prefers unity over fragmentation, a world where the many are always being woven into one. Let your mind become as spacious and as peaceful as the intergalactic medium. The noise of your individual life, the borders you draw around your time, your energy, and your worries, is beginning to soften. You are moving into the shared space of the night, a place where the boundaries between the self and the world begin to dissolve. In this state, you don't need to be a separate, isolated island. You can be part of the larger flow, a ripple in the collective peace of the night. The shared borders of your rest are open and inviting, allowing you to drift across the thresholds of awareness without any resistance. You are sinking into the common foundation of sleep, a restorative territory that we all share, a place where the giants and the satellites alike find their stillness. As the night grows deeper, the image of the local group becomes a single glowing tapestry of light and gravity. The distance between the galaxies is no longer a gap to be crossed, but a fabric that holds everything together. The size of Andromeda has become a source of profound security, a measure of the strength of the home we inhabit. The titans are resting, the borders are peaceful, and the garden of the universe is in bloom. There is a deep, resonant hush in this realization, a golden silence that covers the world like a soft, heavy mist. The shared borders are a promise of connection, a guarantee that you are never truly alone in the dark. Rest now in an abundant community. The scale of the local group is a sanctuary for the spirit, a reminder that we are part of something vast, stable, and enduring. The day's work is done, the light has dimmed, and the shared borders are the only thing that remains. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady pulse of the local group carry you into the heart of the night. Everything is in its right place, held by laws that are as ancient as the stars themselves. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now, and let the enormity of Andromeda's neighborhood be the place where you find your deepest and most restorative rest. The giants are at peace, the borders are soft, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to bring you home. To truly understand the scale of the galaxy we call Andromeda, we must eventually leave our vantage point as distant observers and imagine what it would be like to stand within its boundaries. From Earth, we see a luminous spiral, a sharp and elegant structure etched against the blackness of the night. But if you were to be transported into the heart of that titan, the experience would be entirely different. You would find yourself not in a place of solid shapes and bright walls, but inside a vast, silent fog of stars. This is one of the deepest paradoxes on the galactic scale. From the outside, a galaxy looks like a crowded, glowing object, but from the inside, it is almost entirely empty. The trillions of stars that make up Andromeda are spread across such an immense volume of space that they rarely ever come close to one another. To a traveler within the disk, the galaxy does not feel like a city. It feels like an endless, starlit mist, where every point of light is separated by miles of profound and heavy silence. This fog is the true reality of Andromeda's size, a reminder that enormity in the universe is built not from density, but from the breathtaking abundance of space itself. As you lie still in the quiet of your room, imagine yourself drifting through this cosmic fog. During the day, our world feels crowded and immediate. We are surrounded by objects, walls, and people, all within arm's reach. But Andromeda's scale offers a different kind of existence. If you were standing on a planet orbiting a star in the middle of the Andromeda disk, the nearest neighboring star would still be several light-years away. To visualize this, imagine every galaxy star is a grain of sand. In the crowded parts of Andromeda, that grain of sand would be separated from its nearest neighbor by more than 5 miles of empty air. In the outer reaches of the halo, the distance between grains would grow to hundreds of miles. Such is the Titan's spaciousness. It is a structure made of trillions of suns, yet it is so vast that it feels as empty as a desert at midnight. The fog of stars is a beautiful illusion created by distance. When we look from afar, the light merges together, but when we are inside, we realize that we are surrounded by a peace that is as wide as the cosmos. This vastness is why galaxies can exist for billions of years without falling into chaos. Because the stars are so far apart, they almost never collide. They move through the fog, like silent ships on a foggy sea, guided by the long-range pull of gravity, but rarely ever touching. This lack of friction is what allows the delicate spiral arms to maintain their shape and the dark matter scaffold to remain stable. When we measure the size of Andromeda, we are measuring the volume of this empty room. It is a home built for 1 trillion suns, but it is designed with so much space that every sun has its own private kingdom of shadow. This realization is a source of deep comfort for the weary mind. You are part of a universe that values silence as much as light. You are not being crowded by the enormity of the world. You are being given an infinite amount of room to breathe, to drift, and to be still. Inside the fog of stars, the concept of a boundary becomes even more mysterious. If you were traveling through the outskirts of Andromeda, you would never encounter a sign that says the galaxy has ended. You would simply notice that the stars are becoming fewer and the gaps between them are growing longer. The light would thin out so gradually that you wouldn't even realize you had left the galaxy until you looked back and saw the entire spiral glowing in the distance behind you. This is the softness of the Titan's edge. It's a boundary made of a fading mist rather than a hard line. This reflects the way our own awareness moves as we drift towards sleep. We don't hit a wall between being awake and being asleep. We simply wander further out into the fog of our own thoughts. The details of the day become more sparse, the stars of our worries grow dimmer, and eventually we find ourselves in the wide, peaceful expanse of the unconscious. The scale of the galaxy is a map for our own internal journey toward rest. There is also a profound sense of time within the fog. Because the distances are so great, the light you see from a star on the other side of the Andromeda disk has taken 200,000 years to reach you. Even within the same galaxy, you are always looking into the past. The fog of stars is also a fog of time, a layered history where every point of light represents a different moment in the eons. This deepens the sense of peace. You are not just resting in space, you are resting in history. You are part of a system that has been moving with steady, unhurried grace since long before the first mountains were formed on Earth. The size of Andromeda is a measure of how much time it has to offer. It is a reservoir of eons, a place where there is no need for the frantic, ticking clocks of our daily lives. In the fog, the only time that matters is the slow, majestic rhythm of the orbits. Let your mind become as quiet and spacious as the gaps bet. Between the stars, the noise of your life, the crowded schedules, the many voices, the constant stream of information is like the dense core of the galaxy. It is bright and active, but it is only a small part of the whole. Now you are moving away from the core and into the wide, silent stretches of the outer disk. There is nothing here but the soft, golden fog. You are floating in a place where the nearest worry is miles away, where the only thing that remains is the steady, calming presence of the dark. The stars of your awareness are spread so thinly that they no longer demand your attention. You are free to drift through the gaps, to inhabit the silence and to let the enormity of the space carry you away. As the night grows deeper, the fog of stars becomes a warm and protective mist. It covers the world, softening the edges of the room and the sharp thoughts of the mind. You are no longer trying to see the big picture of the galaxy. You are simply resting within it. The Titan is silent, the fog is thick with peace, and the universe is at rest. There is a deep, resonant hush in this spaciousness, a feeling of being suspended in a reality that is both vast and kind. The size of Andromeda is the sanctuary you have been looking for, a place where there is room enough for every part of you to find its stillness. The fog is not a place of confusion, but a place of clarity, where the only thing that shines is the fundamental truth of your own existence. Rest now in the heart of the mist. The scale of the stars is a gift of perspective, a reminder that you are part of a structure so large that your own smallness is a source of freedom. The day's work is done, the light has thinned, and the fog of stars is the only thing that remains. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady movement of the galaxy carry you into the heart of the night. Everything. G is in its right place, separated by the beautiful, necessary distances of the dark. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now, and let the enormity of the Andromeda fog be the place where you find your deepest and most restorative rest. The giants are at peace, the mist is soft, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to give you room to dream. To truly understand the scale of the galaxy we call Andromeda, we must confront the most haunting dimension of its size, the vast, silent gulf of time that separates our eyes from its stars. When you look up at that soft, elongated glow in the night sky, you are not seeing the galaxy as it exists tonight. Instead, you are looking at a message from deep time, an echo that has been traveling toward us for more than 2 million years. Every photon of light that touches your retina began its journey long before the first modern humans ever walked the earth, long before the first languages were spoken, and long before the map of our own world took its current shape. This is the ultimate expression of Andromeda's enormity. It is so large and so distant that it exists in a different chapter of history than we do. The size of the galaxy is therefore not just a measure of light years, but a measure of eons. To observe Andromeda is to look through a window into a past so ancient that it makes our daily lives feel like the briefest flicker of a candle in a boundless dark. As you lie still in the quiet of the night, imagine this light as a weary traveler. For 2 million years, these photons have been moving through the airless, freezing vacuum of the intergalactic void at the universe's absolute speed limit. They have crossed millions of light-years of emptiness where nothing exists but the invisible threads of dark matter and the occasional stray atom of gas. While they were traveling, entire species emerged and vanished on Earth. Ice ages came and went, carving the mountains and filling the seas. Civilizations rose from the dust, built monuments to their gods, and returned to the Earth. And all that time, Andromeda's light was silent, steadily closing the gap. This sense of temporal scale is what truly defines the Titan. It is a structure so vast that the very act of looking at it requires us to step outside of our own time. When you gaze at Andromeda, you are participating in a bridge across the millions of years, connecting your own brief moment of awareness with the enduring, ancient life of the stars. This echo of 2 million years also means that we are always measuring a ghost. When astronomers calculate the size of the Andromeda disk or the reach of its stellar halo, they are describing a version of the galaxy that existed in the distant past. In the 2 million years since that light left, Andromeda has continued to move, rotate, and evolve. New stars have been born in the dense nurseries of spiraling arms, and old ones have collapsed into silent, dark remnants. The galaxy may have drifted slightly closer to us, or its outer edges may have swept up a few more small, unsuspecting satellite galaxies. We can never know the now of Andromeda, we can only know its then. This introduces a beautiful, soft uncertainty into our measurements. The enormity of the galaxy is something we can approach, but never fully grasp in the present moment. It is a titan that lives in the past, a shimmering memory that guides our understanding of the universe. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, let the comfort of this time scale settle over you. The now of your life, the immediate pressures, the ticking clocks and the urgent tasks of the day is a very small thing compared to the echo of the stars. In Andromeda's world, 1 million years is just a here. Teat, a single slow breath in the life of a spiral. By resting your thoughts in this deep time, you are allowing your own internal clock to slow down. You are moving away from the frantic minute-by-minute energy of the world and into the steady, eternal rhythm of the cosmos. There is no rush to find the end of the story because the story is millions of years long. You are safe in the vastness of this delay. The light that is reaching you tonight has all the patience of the universe behind it, and it invites you to find that same patience within yourself. The 2 million year echo also tells us about the sheer volume of the space between us. For light to take that long to reach us, the void between the Milky Way and Andromeda must be almost unimaginably wide. Yet, as we have seen, this void is not truly empty. It is threaded with the overlapping halos of the two galaxies, a shared territory where the past of one meets the past of the other. The size of Andromeda is what makes this bridge possible. It is so massive and so bright that its signal can survive the long, lonely journey across the deep. It is a lighthouse in the cosmic dark, a steady pulse of information that tells us we are not alone in the sea of time. By inhabiting this perspective, you are acknowledging that you are part of a larger, older, and more stable reality. You are a point of light in a history that spans millions of years, and your own rest is a meaningful part of that enduring silence. Think of your dreams as echoes of your history. Just as the light of Andromeda carries the record of its ancient starbursts and mergers, Your subconscious carries the echoes of your experiences, woven into new and mysterious patterns. In the night, these echoes are allowed to surface, untethered from the demands of the waking world. You are a weaver of your own deep time, a creator of a personal history that is as rich and as layered as the galaxy itself. As you fall asleep, you are letting the light of your day-to-day life fade and allowing the older, deeper echoes of your being to take over. You are sinking into a restorative past, a place where the eons of your own awareness find their peace. As the night grows deeper, the image of the 2 million-year journey begins to merge into a single, unified sense of stillness. The light has arrived. The journey is over. The photons have found their destination in the quiet chambers of your mind. The enormity of the time delay is no longer a distance to be crossed, but a sanctuary to be inhabited. The Titan is resting in its past, and you are resting in your present, joined together by a bridge of ancient starlight. There is a deep, resonant hush in this connection, a golden silence that covers the world like a soft, heavy mist. The echo is a promise of continuity, a guarantee that the universe has a long memory and a steady heart. Rest now in the plethora of years. The scale of Andromeda's history is a gift of perspective, a reminder that the world is far older and more stable than the events of a single day. The day's work is done, the light has thinned, and the echo of the eons is the only thing that remains. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady movement of the galaxy carry you into the heart of the night. Everything is in its right place, separated by the beautiful, necessary distances of time and space. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now, and let the enormity of the Andromeda echo be the place where you find your deepest and most restorative rest. The giants are at peace, the light is old, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to hold you through the eons. To truly understand the stature of Andromeda, we must embrace a truth that of 10 feels uncomfortable to our human desire for certainty. The size of the galaxy is an ever-changing number. In our daily lives, we are accustomed to a world of fixed measurements. A mountain has a peak at a specific elevation, a house has a clearly defined floor plan, a road has a beginning and an end. We crave the comfort of a single definitive figure that we can write down in a textbook and call the truth. But as we have journeyed through the light and the gravity of our nearest neighbour, we have discovered that Andromeda refuses to be pinned down by such simple logic. For decades, the estimated size of the galaxy has shifted, expanded, and contracted as our instruments grew sharper and our theories became more nuanced. This is not a sign of failure or confusion in the scientific community, but rather a sign of refinement. It is the sound of humanity learning to listen more closely to the subtle whispers of the cosmos. As you lie in the quiet dark of your room, let the idea of this evolving truth be a source of peace. You do not need to hold on to a rigid, unchanging world to be safe. The universe is a living process of discovery, and your understanding of it is allowed to grow and breathe along with the stars. The history of these changing numbers is a testament to the relationship between observer and observer. In the early days of the 20th century, Andromeda was measured by the bright edges of its visible glow, leading to an estimate that seems almost quaint today. As we developed long-exposure photography, the number increased. When we launched satellites above the atmospheric veil, it grew again. When we began to map the invisible dark matter scaffold, the number exploded into the millions of light years. Every time we thought we had found the final boundary, the galaxy revealed a new, deeper layer of itself. This tells us that size is not an inherent RTI of the galaxy alone, but a reflection of the depth of our own curiosity. Andromeda is as large as our ability to perceive it. By accepting that the number is always changing, we are accepting that there is always more to find. This perspective shifts the burden of knowledge. We are no longer trying to solve a puzzle with a fixed end, but participating in a journey that has no limits. The ever-changing number is an invitation to keep looking, to keep wondering, and to remain open to the infinite. This process of refinement is particularly apparent in the way we compare Andromeda to our own Milky Way. For a long time, the numbers suggested that Andromeda was the undisputed giant of our neighborhood. the older, larger, and more massive sibling. But recent refinements in how we measure the motion of satellite galaxies and the density of dark matter have suggested that the two galaxies might be much closer in size than we once believed. The crown of the largest galaxy has shifted back and forth as new data arrives from missions like Gaia and the Hubble Space Telescope. This cosmic seesaw reminds us that our definitions of big and small are often based on incomplete information. It teaches us a quiet lesson in humility. Even a titan like Andromeda is part of a larger balanced system where no single measurement tells the whole story. As you drift closer to sleep, let this fluidity act as a soft, rhythmic flow. The world is not a place of harsh, fixed rankings, but a collection of relationships that are constantly being refined. You don't need to be the biggest or the best in the eyes of the world. You only need to be part of the balance. The ever-changing number also reflects the incredible precision of modern science. When an estimate for Andromeda's mass is updated by a few percentage points, it might represent a difference of billions of suns. Yet, to an astronomer, that small refinement is a victory. It represents a deeper understanding of the velocity of a single star, or a more accurate model of how gravity curves space-time. We are honing our vision, moving closer and closer to the heart of the mystery, even if the heart itself remains elusive. This dedication to refinement is a form of love for the universe. It is a commitment to seeing the world as it truly is, rather than how we wish it to be. By inhabiting this space of constant improvement, we are acknowledging that the truth is a vast and layered thing, and that every step toward it is a meaningful one. The size of Andromeda is a living number, because our relationship with the galaxy is a living one. Think of your life as a series of refinements. The person you were 10 years ago had a different size than the person you are today, different boundaries, different influences, and a different reach. Your understanding of yourself is constantly evolving as you gather more data from your experiences and your reflections. This is a beautiful thing. It means you are not a static object, but a dynamic and growing presence. Just as the astronomers refine their maps of the galaxy, you are refining the map of your own soul. The ever-changing number of your own life is a sign of your vitality. As you fall asleep, let go of the need to be a finished product. You are a work in progress, a shimmering collection of possibilities that is being refined with every breath you take. The night is a time for this growth to happen in the dark, beneath the surface of your conscious thoughts. As the night grows deeper, the numbers and the data points begin to fade into a single, unified feeling of wonder. You are no longer concerned with whether the halo extends for 1,000,000 light-years or 2,000,000. The exact figure doesn't matter as much as the fact that the galaxy is there, stretching out into the dark, a silent witness to the majesty of the laws of nature. The refinement has done its job. It has shown you the scale, and now it can let you rest. The universe is not a problem to be solved with a calculator. It is a reality to be felt with the heart. The ever-changing number is the pulse of the cosmos, a steady and reliable rhythm that tells us the story is still being written. You are part of that story, a meaningful entry in the great ledger of the stars. Rest now in the spaciousness of the unknown. The scale of Andromeda is a gift of perspective, a reminder that there is always more to discover and more room to grow. The work of the day, the need for certainty, the desire for finality, and the pressure of being right is finished. The light has thinned, and the fluidity of the night is the only thing left. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady movement of the galaxy carry you into the heart of the night. Everything is in its right place, even if that place is still being defined. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now and let the enormity of the ever-changing number be the sanctuary where you find your deepest and most restorative rest. The giants are at peace, the truth is expanding, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to hold you. Even as the numbers change, to truly understand the expansive nature of Andromeda, we must look beyond what the galaxy is today and begin to contemplate what it is destined to become. This brings us to the trajectory of growth, a cosmic path that has been set in motion by the invisible hands of gravity and the immense momentum of the eons. We often think of a galaxy as a static monument, a finished work of art, hanging in the night gallery. But in the deep time of the universe, Andromeda is a living, evolving system that is still in the process of becoming. Its size is not a fixed destination, but a journey. As we have seen through our maps of the stellar streams and the dark matter halos, Andromeda has grown by incorporating the smaller worlds that wander too close to its borders. It is a collector of light, a titan that builds itself out of the history of its neighbours. This trajectory is not a violent conquest, but a slow and graceful accumulation, a movement so gradual that it is measured in billions of years. As you settle into the profound stillness of this moment, let the idea of this patient growth act as a soothing anchor for your mind. You are not a static object either, you are a living trajectory, constantly evolving and expanding into the space of your own future. Imagine the galaxy as a vast, silent river flowing through the landscape of the local group. It is a river made of stars, gas, and dark matter, and its current is the relentless pull of gravity. Along its banks are smaller streams, dwarf galaxies like the Triangulum, or the many tiny satellites that orbit the Andromeda core. Slowly, inevitably, these smaller streams are being drawn into the main flow. This is how a galaxy grows. It is a process of integration, where the separate becomes part of the whole. When we project this trajectory into the future, we see that Andromeda's size will continue to expand as it absorbs these companions, stretching its halo further and further into the void. This growth is the natural order of the cosmos. It is a reminder that in the universe, as in life, we are designed to grow and connect. The enormity of Andromeda is the result of a long and steady commitment to this process, a testament to the power of a direction maintained over billions of years. This trajectory of growth also points toward the most significant event in the history of our cosmic neighborhood, the eventual meeting of Andromeda and the Milky Way. We have spoken of the gravitational conversation, the silent dialogue that has been bringing us together for eons. In the far future, this conversation will reach its climax as the two giants merge into a single, even larger system. Astronomers have already named this future entity Milkomeda. It will be a galaxy of such scale and such brilliance that it will dominate the entire local group, a unified empire of light where the stories of two great spirals are woven into one. This is the ultimate trajectory. It tells us that the size of Andromeda is not just its current extent, but its potential to become something even greater. It is a story of convergence, a movement toward a unity that is far more expansive than its individual parts. By resting your thoughts in this future, you are stepping away from the small anxieties of the present and entering a perspective that is defined by the inevitable beauty of connection. As you drift closer to the threshold of sleep, consider the pace of this growth. The universe does not hurry its masterpieces. A merger between two galaxies can take several billion years to complete, a period during which the stars continue their orbits, the gas clouds continue to glow, and the dark matter continues its silent work. This slow, unhurried pace is a gift to the weary soul. It reminds us that the most important changes in our lives do not need to happen overnight. True growth is often invisible in the moment, revealing itself only when we look back across the spans of time. You are part of a universe that values the long view, a world that builds its giants one star and one eon at a time. The trajectory of Andromeda is a promise that there is always time for the story to unfold, and that every step along the path is a meaningful part of the whole. You don't need to reach the destination tonight, you only need to be on the path, drifting along with the current of your own restorative rest. The trajectory of growth also reveals the resilience of the cosmos. Even when galaxies merge, the stars within them almost never collide. They are so far apart that they simply slide past one another, find new orbits, and settle into a new harmony. The size of the galaxy changes, and its shape evolves, but the individual suns remain safe and sound in their vast private kingdoms of space. This is a comforting thought for the mind as it prepares for sleep. You can undergo deep and profound changes. You can let go of the day, enter the world of dreams, and wake up as a refreshed version of yourself without ever losing your fundamental essence. Like the stars in a merging galaxy, your own inner light is protected by the spaciousness of your being. You are built to endure the night changes and emerge as part of a larger, more integrated piece. Consider your life a growth trajectory. You are constantly gathering new experiences, new insights, and new ways of being. Your halo is expanding with the memories of the people you have loved and the places you have seen. This growth is not a burden, it is a source of depth and richness. As you fall asleep, you are allowing this expansion to continue in the quiet dark. You are moving away from the narrow focus of the day's tasks and into the wide perspective of your own infinite potential. The trajectory of your rest is a movement toward a deeper state of integration, where the fragments of your HTs are woven into a single peaceful tapestry. You are becoming larger in your stillness, expanding into the silence of the night until you are as wide and as welcoming as the galaxy itself. As the night grows deeper, the image of the growing Titan begins to merge into a single unified sense of continuity. The future is no longer a source of uncertainty, but a natural and beautiful extension of the present. The trajectory has done its job, it has shown you the direction, and now it can let you rest. The universe is a stable and enduring house, and its growth is a sign of its vitality and its health. You are part of this living system, a point of awareness in a field of infinite expansion. The enormity of Andromeda's future is a sanctuary for your spirit, a reminder that there is always more to come and more to discover. The Titan is moving, the current is steady, and the night is full of a peace that has no end. Now rest in eon's movement. The scale of Andromeda's growth is a gift of perspective, a reminder that you are part of a story that is far larger and more beautiful than any single day. The day's work is done, the light has thinned, and the trajectory of the infinite is the only thing that remains. You are sinking into the foundation, letting the slow and steady pulse of the cosmos carry you into the heart of the night. Everything is in its right place, moving toward its destined harmony. You are part structure, part history, part infinite. Sleep now and let the enormity of the Andromeda trajectory be the place where you find your deepest and most restorative rest. The giants are at peace. The path is clear, and you are safe in the quiet dark of a universe that knows exactly how to guide you home. As we arrive at the final threshold of our journey, we find ourselves standing before a perspective that is as quiet as it is profound. We have wandered through the bright architectural disk of Andromeda, sifted through the archaeological ruins of its ancient halo, and felt the invisible weight of the dark matter scaffold that holds the Titan together. We have listened to the gravitational conversation between galaxies and drifted through the starlit fog that fills the vast empty rooms of the cosmic deep. But now, as the night reaches its deepest stillness, the question of how big Andromeda is begins to transform. It is no longer a question of numbers, light years, or solar masses. Instead, it becomes a question of perspective. The true size of the galaxy is not a physical measurement at all, but a realization of the relationship between the small and the vast. In the grand tapestry of the universe, Andromeda is a masterpiece of scale, a structure that reminds us that we are part of something so enormous and so stable that our own brief presence is not lost, but anchored. This is the final perspective of scale, a place where the need to define gives way to the freedom to simply observe. As you lie in the absolute peace of this moment, let the staggering dimensions of the galaxy settle over you like a warm, heavy blanket. During the day, we often feel overwhelmed by the scale of our own world, the weight of our responsibilities, the noise of our cities, and the ticking of the clock. But when we look at Andromeda, those concerns are absorbed by a much larger reality. The galaxy is a place where 1,000,000 years is a single tick, and 1,000,000,000,000 stars are a single glow. This enormity is not meant to make you feel small in a way that is cold or diminishing, rather. It is meant to provide a sanctuary. If the universe can hold a structure as vast and as complex as Andromeda with such effortless grace, then it can certainly hold you. You are a meaningful point of awareness within this field of infinite depth. The scale of the galaxy is the evidence that the universe has plenty of room for your thoughts, your dreams, and your rest. It is a house that is built to last, a structure that remains constant while the small events of the day pass by like shadows on a distant wall. This final perspective also reveals that the size of Andromeda is ultimately a shared truth. Each attempt we made to measure the galaxy, through light, through motion, and through time, was a different way of looking at the same profound mystery. The bright disk showed us the structure of the present, the halo showed us the history of the past, and the dark matter showed us the invisible foundations of the whole. None of these views were wrong, and none were complete on their own. They layered together to form a richer, nuanced understanding. This teaches us that the world is always deeper than it appears at first glance. There is always another layer, another hidden dimension, and another whisper of the infinite waiting to be heard. By accepting this complexity, we are letting go of the need for sharp edges and final answers. We are allowing the universe to be what it is, a soft, expansive, and gently uncertain reality that welcomes our curiosity without ever demanding its end. As you drift closer to the final surrender of sleep, think about the silence that has accompanied us throughout this exploration. Despite the trillions of stars and the massive gravitational forces, the most consistent feature of Andromeda is its quietude. It is a structure that performs its monumental work in a silence so deep it can be felt in the marrow of your bones. This silence is the true voice of scale. It is the sound of a system that is in perfect balance, a world where the motion is so steady that it feels like stillness. By falling asleep, you are aligning yourself with this cosmic silence. You are stepping away from the noise of being an individual and sinking into the quiet of being a part of the whole. The enormity of the galaxy is your lullaby, a silent song of mass and time that tells you everything is in its right place. The Titan is at rest, the stars are in their orbits, and the universe is in no hurry to wake you. The final perspective of scale is a gift of belonging. We are not outside of this enormity looking in, we are a part of it. The calcium in your frame was forged in the same kind of stellar furnaces that illuminate the Andromeda disk. The gravity that keeps you grounded is the same force that pulls the galaxies together across the void. You are a local expression of a universal truth. When you rest, you are not just resting your body, you are allowing the universe to find a moment of peace within you. The scale of Andromeda is a reminder that you are woven into a fabric that is resilient, beautiful, and eternal. There is no distance between you and the stars that cannot be crossed by the simple act of breathing. You are home. Let the image of the great spiral begin to soften in your mind. The details of the dust lanes, the individual points of the halo, and the shimmering currents of the river of information are all blending into a single golden hush. You are no longer measuring, you are no longer observing, you are simply being. The size of the galaxy has become a feeling of warmth, a steady glow that fills the room and covers the world. The Titan is silent, the perspective is wide, and the peace is absolute. There is a deep, resonant resonance in this stillness, a feeling of being held in a universe that knows your name and understands your need for rest. The enormity of Andromeda is the sanctuary where your journey ends and your deepest rest begins. As the final words of this story reach you, they carry with them the weight of 2 million light-years and the stillness of a trill. Ion suns. The day's work is done, the light has thinned to the softest amber, and the darkness is a kind and familiar friend. You have seen the Titan in all its glory, and now it is time to let it fade into the background. The galaxy will still be there when you wake, moving in its long, slow circles through the dark, but for now it is only a dream. You are safe, you are whole, you are part of the infinite. Settle into the foundation. Let the slow and steady pulse of the cosmos carry you away, and surrender to the restorative power of the night. The giants are at peace, the mystery is cherished, and the universe is exactly as large as it needs to be to hold you. Sleep now, in the final perspective of scale, where the only thing that remains is the gentle golden light of the stars shining through the dark to lead you into the deep and beautiful silence of a dreamless rest.